Hey, everybody, welcome to the wrong end of the snake. It's a webinar, webcast about audio touring and the relationships we have built between our road families. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on the wrong end of the snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably 10 years as front of house and monitor mixers for Linkin Park. My co-host, Kevin Tater McCarthy, is a world-class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend. He has 9 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Engineer of the Year awards. I am Ken Van Druten, aka Pooch. I'm a front of house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy-nominated recording engineer, and I have 8 Top Dog Front of House Engineer of the Year awards, and I'm also a winner of the Parnelli Front of House Engineer of the Year award. Let's do a little housekeeping. Please use the chat window in the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves. If you are streaming from our YouTube channel and you want to be able to ask questions of our guests, register to be on the Zoom call for future episodes. Links to register are in all of our social media. If you have any questions for our guests, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app. We will answer as many questions as possible during the hour and then answer any leftover questions in a Q&A overtime episode. Look for that to be uploaded to our YouTube channel in a few days. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to visit our social media. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Tater, why don't you tell us about our guest this week?
Fantastic. We have Ethan Murphy this week. Ethan is a stage manager, rigger, carpenter, production manager that has worked in this industry since 1991. Hanging around backstage at concerts since he was 6 years old. His stepdad, Fred Saunders, was personal security, head of security for some of the biggest acts in the 80s. Ethan has worked for Alanis Morrisette, Backstreet Boys, Avenged Sevenfold, us in the business call them A7X, right? Slipknot, Halsey, Disturbed, Pentatonix, Gorillaz, Kygo, and along with us, Linkin Park. Let's welcome Ethan Murphy.
There he is, the infamous Ethan Murphy.
Thank you for having me, fellas. I feel honored to be here amongst you guys.
Dude, thanks for coming on. We always try to invite people that we've had long-term relationships with, but I would say that Ethan is, for the 3 of us, I think we've worked together the most. You know what I mean? For different bands and certainly Linkin Park for years and years and years. So we know you very well, and we're very happy to have you on.
Well, thank you guys. I gotta say, it was I was a little scared at first, but you know what? It's a privilege, and I feel very honored to be doing this with you guys. And you know, you guys know me well enough to know usually I tend to try to stay under the radar, but as I like to say, I'm trying not to do that anymore. I want to be more out there and tell more of my story and help more people along the way.
Good for you, man.
Well,
good for you.
For staying under the radar for all these years, you've gotten a lot of good gigs. I tell you that. A lot of good.
Maybe that's the right quality to have. Maybe that's the right quality.
You know, sometimes, I mean, it's worked for me, so why try to change it up so much?
Yeah. No, I think, you definitely have a really unique story to share with these guys. And certainly you're the first stage manager / production manager / carpenter / you are a jack of all trades, and you're the first one to be on with us. So I think you have a really unique perspective, and so thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of it was very, I would say that growing up for me backstage, there was a lot of things that you shouldn't see when you're growing up, but that was also a lot. I wouldn't change anything, right. There's a lot of exposure that helped me to grow up fast, good or bad. In a sense, I wanted to grow up faster and experience adulthood quickly, right or wrong again. And growing up backstage at the Forum Club showed me a lot of what I thought I wanted to do. So, my first attraction to this business wasn't the work side of it. It was what I think a lot of people's attraction is. It was jet setting, traveling, good looking people, parties, all that stuff for the initial attraction as a teenager. Basically, like when I first started to think about what do I want to do when I grow up, and I was really good in school. I did well in school. I got accepted to university, was an economics major. Took a semester off. Well, let me go back a little bit. Took a summer.
Tell us a little bit how that all happened, because I don't think people know that your stepfather was in this industry. So when you were like 6 years old, you were going to shows and stuff, right?
Oh yeah. And I got the VIP treatment, and as I got older, that became more VIP because I could bring some friends, so I was the cool kid at school that can bring some friends to concerts and stuff like that. And, the VIP treatment was also something that was very alluring, the come on back this way. Oh, you got a pass. We'll just let you go wherever you want type thing,
And these and what bands were these? Just so we can have an idea of
first band I saw was Kiss when I was 6, and nice. I fell asleep in the crowd. I remember that, just outside the Forum Club, fell asleep and everything. I was 6. As I think the next one I remember was Duran Duran, and I think I was 3rd grade. I took a girlfriend of mine 5th grade to Prince. Tears for Fears was in there. Depeche Mode. Nice. Yeah, Depeche Mode. As I got a little older, and Fred would have me, I would go to shows like Bon Jovi, Skid Row, Motley Crue, and stuff like that. And that's when a lot more of the
I love how you're trying to find the right words. I was
trying to think, like, it was always an attraction to me. It was always an attraction, but
yeah,
I wanted to. It's kind of like it was Fred had a production company, right? He had a local production company, non-union production company, and he asked me, or I asked him. I don't really recall what it was, but he was doing steel stadium shows for the summer, and there was a lot of scaffolding shows. So he asked me, or I asked if I could go do a stadium show for him. And it was a loadout. My first gig was a loadout. So got thrown right in the fire, got in a pass line and all that stuff. And scary, yes. But boy, that adrenaline rush that I first got of watching that stuff come down, and that just all that commotion and those people and go, go, go and all that. I've always kind of been an adrenaline junkie, and I really enjoyed that. And I always liked heights, and I really took to it. I really did. Before I knew it, I was up in the PowerPoint, up at the top of the steel, doing things that only us crazy people would do up at the top. I have found out over years, though, it was a little easier at the top, as long as you're not scared of heights. So I stuck with SCAF for the summer and a little bit of other stuff, but mainly it was the SCAF for the summer. And I enjoyed it so much that I took a semester off. Took a semester off of the university,
Awesome.
And this is the longest semester I've taken off in my life. 29 years later, buddy.
That's awesome.
But it went from just SCAF to doing local production work for Fred, and doing any kind of gig that we could, or that I could at the time. From loading sea containers at Rocket Cargo to going and rigging in places that were not user friendly, to, just anything that we could do. And, Fred's excuse was, you got youth on your side, man. He's probably laughing at this right now. On your side. You can't say no. I'm like, you're just going to make me old really quick, buddy. And so, but I wouldn't change a thing. The exposure to just a little bit of everything during that time was, in hindsight, it was really good for me to get me to where I am now. It helped me understand a lot of what other departments have to go through to get their job done, and that everybody's department is an equally important part of that show. Was
Rilo the whole time with you through this whole thing, or?
No, he started, I want to say about 3 or 4 years after me, because he's
okay.
he's 2 years younger than me as it is. And then I want to say about 3 years, I would guess, something like that. But he's just as crazy as I am. Still, he's more crazy than I am to this day. He's still doing head rigging for all that. He's a jiu-jitsu, tightroper,
rock climber,
climber extraordinaire. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
and for people out there that don't know Ethan well, his brother Ryan is who we're talking about. And both of these guys have been a staple in the industry for, 30 years almost. So yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so work with Fred Saunders, and his crew, let's just say it was one of the hardest working crews, like physically, that I've been around at that time. Unfortunately, there was a lot of wild and crazy people, so we didn't get all the respect that we deserved, I think, but a lot of people have done pretty well with themselves from that time, and the ones that haven't are still trying. And, unfortunately, some people have fallen to the wayside, like all of us, that we all know somebody like that. Yeah. But from that, working for Fred for about 5 or 6 years, and we were doing a Disney Fest Asia mock-up rehearsal, 2 circus tents, size of football fields next to each other, joined by a tunnel, right? 6-week load in, Benny Collins, Morris Lida, Reg Dew, all these big players out there, big production. And so we did this load in, and we started doing show runs throughs, and the stage manager or head carp for the theater asked me if I wanted to go to Singapore with him, go over and help be one of the riggers, and help him set up the theater and all that, live in Singapore for 6 weeks and then come home, and so I went to Singapore. First time abroad.
How old were you?
At this time I was 24, 25-ish, right?
Nice.
And it was my first experience abroad, especially for work. I'd been to Mexico with my parents, but like that first time. So here we go. I've got the Adventures in Singapore book, all the fears about you're going to get caned, and all this stuff. I'm like, here we go. I want to live here for 6 months or 6 months, whatever. So we get there, and it's going really well. It's really cool. Great experience. They actually speak a lot of English there, for those that haven't been there. So it was really welcome, for me to be able to talk to people and stuff like that. But we get about 2/3 of it in, about a month into load in, and the guy asked me, Noel McCarthy, the carpenter, stage manager, asked me to stay. He asked me to stay and help him run the show. So I ended up staying with Disney Fest Asia and living in Singapore for 6 months. And then we went from Singapore to Taiwan, lived in Taiwan for 6 months. And then that got canceled for, there was a mystery illness in Asia or whatever. So they canceled it and came home. And Ty Trussell, if any of you guys know Ty Trussell from works at Gallagher Staging, he reached out to me because I did a lot of all access work, here in LA for them through Fred Saunders. And he asked me if I'd be interested to go to Europe and go replace somebody as a rigger carp. So I went out and worked with Tom Cusimano. Tom Cusimano was the head rigger, went out and was the rig 2 and the carpenter for Alanis Morrisette in Europe for 10 weeks. Great experience, a lot of learning experiences. Showed up, I don't know if you guys remember those Marlboro bags. Remember Marlboro miles and those big Marlboro miles? You could get like free stuff.
Yeah.
Packs of cigarettes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they had these body bags the size of duffel bags, right? And here I am going to Europe my first time and showing up with these 2 body bags on 2. He was already going, by the way. I'm replacing somebody. And here I come out of the lobby on day 1 knowing nobody, bro. I didn't know nobody in Europe. And I've got these 2 body size duffel bags. I was like, here's a new guy. And dude, I didn't touch one of those bags the entire time I was there. Just sat in the thing, so it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
Went to Alanis Morrisette and then came back and it went well. Ty Trussell asked if I'd be interested to go do Korn with him. This is how I met Chris Gratton. Well, I knew Chris Gratton from Delicate Lighting or Delicate Productions because he was lighting guy for Delicate when I met him. And then Ty Trussell asked me to come meet the production manager for Korn to see if there's a good fit to go do Korn as the sixth carpenter, right? Korn had six carpenters at this time. And so I went, and Chris Gratton was the production manager. Met Chris Gratton, went great for that tour, and then kind of just fell into rock from there. Worked with Gratton for consistently for 4 or 5 years, at which time is when I got introduced to Jim Digby, because Gratton and I did, our first experience was with Linkin Park was on Family Values, where they were in the middle act of, they played before Stained and Stone Temple Pilots, right? And Gratton was the overall production manager for the tour. And so that's where I got exposed to Linkin Park. And then from that tour, I believe Linkin went and did their first headline tour, in which Digby got involved with Linkin Park. And I was along for the ride. And it was great, great experiences, the great families that I met, that Linkin Park umbrella, as you guys know, the relationships that we've met. For me, it was 17 years of in that umbrella, and the family and friends and the life experiences that we accumulated over that time is, like, in hindsight, it's so easy to say just how important and like invaluable that time was for me in my life. And the patience that Digby had, the patience that you guys had with me growing up, I mean, I stage managed a little bit with Gratton, smaller, like Clay Aiken and, other smaller acts, because Gary McLean was usually Chris Gratton's production manager. But then Digby gave me the big break, with Linkin Park. Robert moved on and said, "Hey, buddy, I think we were doing a show at the Roxy." And I want to say, I think it was an unannounced event or smaller event. And he kind of came up to me and said, "Hey, bud, how you feeling?" I'm like, "All right." He's all, "Cool, you're the stage manager for Linkin Park." Oh, what? And he had faith in me, and he had patience with me, and the rest is history. It's worked out really well.
If we go back, thinking about that Roxy show, that was a one-off in between, I think, Australia and Japan. So just imagine.
Yeah. It was not a consistently, show that was just on the itinerary. It was definitely like many of those surprise shows. Where are we going? We just got back from Asia last night.
We're gonna go play the Roxy with a set from the arenas, backline from arenas, and monitor rig from arenas. Yeah, it was interesting. It was.
And I just remember most of us were gonna just go from Australia to Asia, and then we had to
come to Los Angeles.
Do it via Los Angeles. Yeah,
for sure. And
I had actually planned a vacation with my wife. I thought we were going to go, from Australia straight to Japan, and then I was going to have some days with my wife. And so I ended up doing that show. I don't know if you remember, but like the last song at the Roxy was mixed by the system engineer, because I literally hopped in a car and made a flight at like 11:30. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was trippy.
And, but with good family like that, and, with good crew, sometimes you can do that. You have the availability to people to cover each other for important experiences in life. There's two families that I have in this life, and
absolutely true.
And then that's another thing I think a lot of people are going through right now with this COVID shit, is that we have not been able to see our family and be involved with our family. For me, that was there for 29 years.
Yep.
You can see them like this, but being on the floor and waking up in the morning and wishing people good morning and seeing those 30 people first thing in the morning, sometimes you don't want to, but God, how much do you miss it now? Crap, get on my face in the morning, but like what we would do now to have those experiences, come on, like in hindsight, we have one of the best jobs in the world. Nobody likes to go to work, but I love my job.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like,
I think that's the difference between us and just your average guy that it wasn't able to work for, 4 months, 5 months, whatever, is that our thing is, everybody that's involved in touring, it's a passion thing. Like if you didn't have passion for what you did, you wouldn't do it, because it's 16 hours of hard labor every single day. and the traveling and all that stuff, and like none of us would do that. It's hard. It's a hard life. None of us would do that if we didn't love it.
Oh yeah.
And so to have that taken away from us, I think is a little bit different than just someone with an average job.
For sure.
And there's artistry in it too. I mean, even as a stage manager, I want to get into that with you about, what sort of stuff, what balls you have in the air in regards to being a stage manager, because I know you do. But can we just back up just a little bit? I want to take us back. I don't want to go all the way back and then, end up here again, but I want to know how you got the skills to be a rigger. Did you just start watching other guys, or like, how did that happen?
Hands-on, for real. Yes. 100% hands-on. And paying attention to people, paying attention to the right people, usually, the loud ones are the ones, people who always want to get the attention. And don't get me wrong, I try to watch everybody still to this day, because I feel that you can learn something from anybody, like everybody's got their own mind. Everyone has their own ideas, but it's the hand-on experience that I had. It was hands-on, it really was. It was from climbing up in the SCAF towers, like you don't go to SCAF school. It starts with a comfort. It starts.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So like you obviously had a mentor or somebody that like said, come out, do this. I'll teach you all about how to do it. Right. Like you didn't just show up one day and be like, I'm going to start climbing this stuff now.
Well, no. The thing was, it was good. It's funny too. Fred's listening. He probably knows this too, but I didn't tell anybody that Fred was my stepfather. If I got introduced that way and stuff like that, great, very proud of Fred being my stepfather and all that stuff, but I wanted to be known for Ethan Murphy, so I didn't want special treatment by anybody finding that out. And scaffolding and doing a lot of that work, it's a lot of grunt labor, but I didn't want that's the boss's kid. He doesn't need to be doing that stuff. And
right.
he didn't want that treatment either. If anything, it was kind of the opposite. It's like, hey, dude, get off your ass. You slept 2 hours, go do this, youth's on your side, tough love type stuff. But there was also a nucleus around Fred, and his crew at this time that did know that I was a stepson. So I had a core group of people that would give me input as we were working, like, hey man, you don't want to do this way. You want to do it that way. Casey Gillespie, rest in peace. One of the best scaffers I ever worked with, he was really good, very tactical, unfortunately he had demons like a lot of us did and do, but I learned a lot from him. And Doug DeSault, is another crazy scaffer that I learned from, but really, really good at what he did. So a couple people, like, they took me under their wing, but I also, I wanted to push myself. And, in hindsight, I pushed myself at a dangerous level. I wouldn't recommend to anybody doing some of the ways that I learned, other than keeping your eyes open, ask questions, don't be scared to ask questions. If it's a sincere question, if it's just some jackass question to make a joke, of course, if someone's trying to take their time and teach you something, that's the last thing they want to hear. But scaffolding and dropping things and making sure pins are clipped, and, that's life. That is life-threatening stuff.
I think we live in a different world right now.
Sure.
We grew up with, our mentors were the serious cocaine cowboys, right? Those were the guys that were, stayed up for 6 days in a row, working 24 hours a day. And it was dangerous. And now
we only had half harnesses back then, and like the full body harness, it wasn't on a job site then, and the half body harnesses, they were put on if your crew chief made you put them on, but usually you're doing leg locks and handholds and stupid stuff. Like
crazy. So crazy.
And the things we used to call a suicide walk, it's literally an 8-foot walk across a 2-foot diameter steel pipe, but it's just about this much, 2 feet ish, that your arms aren't going to reach to that bar, but it's like 2 steps. Yeah. There's no lifelines. And now, from my understanding, people go down and they climb across and they go back up, which is what we should have done, but I think a lot of there's so much safety nowadays, I think that I think there's pros and cons, fortunate enough learning a lot with your hands on, you experience a lot of that stuff, good or bad. I mean, broken bones, gashed open hands, fingers, I'll straight up tell you, I almost made a mistake where I could have taken somebody's arm off. There's all that dumb factor in those back cowboy days. Nowadays, I think that everything it's much more thought out. It's much more safety oriented, rightfully so. People, I've seen somebody fall and die, and wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Me either. I did too.
Yeah, it is not something you want to see, and more importantly, not something you want to hear if that's your loved one. Take the extra 5 minutes, take the extra 2 minutes. That's one thing, as I started saying about the adrenaline rush for a loadout and stuff like that. And I'm finished in an hour and 37 minutes. Damn it. Last night was an hour 34. What? 3 and 5 minutes on a loadout. If it keeps everybody safe and sane, it's cool if it's an operation and it's almost like an orchestra. It's like you say, it's art. For me, stage managing, sometimes like I really enjoy flow. Like, it's like water. It's like water in a drain. If something is going to sit there in the middle of the lane, it's going to clog it. So just keep lanes. You can get to the trucks. You can get to the gear. There's no animosity. Flow. I love that. I like that symmetry and just everything moving in motion. Then you have the clusterfucks, which we all don't like. And that's part of my job, is to keep the production away from those as best I can. Be ahead of a problem, and not only be ahead of it, but solve it if I can, so that nobody even knows it was a problem. If it's a big problem,
what's your fastest time? We'll beat that.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the whole thing. And now, more power to them, and that's great. But my thing is now is I don't push it. I want to be efficient, and I want people to get off their feet, but I don't want anyone breaking their ankles. I don't want anyone popping their fingers between two cases, getting their ankles rolled up on a case.
It's not worth it.
Those extra 3 or 4 minutes, it's not a big deal. Now, an hour and a half and 2 hours, there's a fine line when you have people who are trying to milk that out. But that's the learning process. That's figuring out what venue you're in. That's the experience you get over time.
Let's go back to the safety thing. As you know, we were Jim's guinea pigs for ESA. We did a lot of training, and thank God, he put us through his testing, and it was, as you look back, it was fantastic that he did all that, and it helped him evolve the ESA. Did you do a lot of consulting with him in the production offices all those times about before the ESA and safety stuff on rigging with him and stuff like that?
Jim is really good at bringing in his team players. And then taking their input for real. Jim is a production manager who I back in the time thought that he was letting me do some of his work, right? But in hindsight, he was teaching me. He was allowing me to learn. And if I needed something, he was there. With the safety with Jim and a lot of productions, but we'll just stick with Jim, is he trusts his riggers. He trusts the people that he hires to do their jobs, right? So
he trusts everyone that surrounds him, and that's his whole MO. And I think that's a great way to operate, and that's how a lot of production managers operate. Is if you're the dumbest person in the room and hire great people around you, you know what I mean, then you could do nothing but succeed. I'm not saying that Jim's the dumbest person.
No.
Don't get me wrong.
We all know
I'm just saying,
when we're like, this guy's in that position, really? And then he's got a great crew, and you're like, oh, well, no wonder. This is how can he not be succeeding? Yeah. Sure. But to your point with Digby, we used to talk a lot on the phone. I still have. I kept every email. I have emails from 2000.
Wow.
5, 6, 7, Linkin Park pre-production. We worked a lot together before the production, but Jim listened, and I've learned a lot by him allowing me to do things. That was, I guess, for the stage management purposes, I learned a lot from Jim of what it takes for the production side of things, and how important what they do leading up to the day of, it really is. Not just taking care of the artist, but like making sure the venue's got everything, to every little detail taken care of, from storage to catering to runners and that's just our needs. Then you got to bring the people that we're all there for, the artist. you know, and so they've got so much stuff on their plate that I try to take as much off their plate as I can on show days, you know, like, and even leading up to like pre-production, if I see some drawings, right, even the last tour I did, I will point it out. Hey, this design, this is problems I see with this. This could be very problematic going forward. I just want to bring it up, you know, and you can only bring things up and then other people make decisions. Sometimes designers, I don't care. It's going to take you an extra hour to build every day. That's good. We want that in the show. Then you talk to your people, you know, whatever.
You've had a few of those, by the way.
Oh yeah. And we will again, hopefully, you know. But yeah, there was a lot of work going into these Linkin Park pre-productions, you know, because we all know, you guys as well, we had 3 sets of backline, 2 sets of audio, numerous sets of set, you know, depending on what we were doing for that. And we were going with our schedule in all different countries all the time. So we had like an A rig of this mixed with a B rig of this and a C rig of this. And then that B rig's going to match with that. Do you remember that? God, where were we? Was that Brazil or Argentina when we had that whiteboard and the Post-it notes of where all that gear was going?
I do.
You remember that? And that was just for one separation of gear, you know?
Yep.
So
it's like, okay, the C back line is going with the A board groups and the G lighting all have to go into this can.
And then you get this far on the bar and it's, well, wait a second. Now we have the C rig here in Asia, but here we have it over in the States. Steve Bodding, how are we going to do this? You know?
And I think none of that ever screwed up except for there was a playback rig situation once.
In Canada.
And everything else with all of those weird movements in all of those years. I
cannot emphasize enough how amazing that got pulled off every time. And even that one show with no Pro Tools rig, with 2 laptops on the side of the stage, it got pulled off. Dylan Eli. I have pictures of that too.
We made it happen, which is what you do. You know what I mean?
Team efforts on that. Do you remember who really helped us a lot with getting that together? Was Martin Kelly from Christie's Lights.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how he just was probably there just.
He came to visit. Yeah,
he came to visit. Next thing you know, he's running all around Toronto finding his direct boxes. You know?
Yeah, totally, man. And I'll tell you, and that was, I think, the one time that we came close, other than when we didn't have an actual artist, where we were like,
that's true.
Be able to do this show. You know, we're going to be able to do this show. And
down to the wire, we were saying that.
Oh,
we
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we kept them, because didn't they show up to the side of the stage too from their cars? Was that the same show that they showed up late?
Yeah.
No, that was, no, it wasn't, was it?
Yeah. It was that.
Because I want to say we didn't have band members stressing out.
Yeah, because Chester and Mike showed up together and then we had to wait on the rest of the band.
Right? Didn't they start up an acoustic set?
Yep, started up an acoustic and then they waited for Rob and everybody
else. That was that same show?
Same show, yep.
With the ride, boys.
Stone Temple Pilots was on that show? Weird. I remember that
STP
differently.
wasn't on the show.
Because didn't STP open for us?
Yeah, STP opened. It wasn't the same show. Somewhere else is where they played 3 songs, like Mike playing keyboards.
Yes, because the other guys weren't there yet.
Because the other guys weren't there. I'm pretty sure it was a different place.
We couldn't start late because of jets. Remember, we always had to go by the jets. So you can't hold anything because we had to go by jets.
I don't know. I mean, you could be right, Tater. You're almost always right. I am almost never remember that shit, but I do remember that day it was Stone Temple Pilots before us. So it was like a festival-y kind of a thing. Might have been.
Could have been, but I don't think it was STP. I think it may have been like Army of Anyone or a version of STP. Now,
you remember that stuff is amazing to me. Like you can usually name the artist, the month, and the year or the country.
I know you usually are good about it. So
I got to tell you,
you're probably right. I remember it was Eddie Mapp mixing Front of House. That's what I remember about it.
Yeah, but I think it was one of their side band thingies.
Projects.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, we've had all kinds of crazy stuff happen to us. What about we have done a show in Red Square in Russia.
Yeah.
Another example of Jim Digby having a lot of patience with Ethan Murphy here. Do you guys remember that one? Let's just say, for all you young kids out there, do not do what this stage manager did and go explore Russia the night before the premiere and miss lobby call. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, because
I didn't know that you missed lobby call.
Dumbass. And again, thank you, Jim Digby, because yeah. But I was there. I made it. Stupid dumbass. But you know,
let's fast forward just a bit. And thing is, you're doing all these great bands. It's one thing working for a band and you do a tour and it's 6 months long and all that stuff, or a year, whatever they are, and you go to another band. But what about when like the Lieberbergs call you to go over and do Rock and Ring and Rock and Park? You got to think, man, I'm at the top of my game as a stage manager. If a German promoter as great as the Lieberbergs are having you come over to do to stage manage a festival like that, I mean, it's got to be a great honor.
Super flattering. A great experience. I unfortunately have only been able to do it a couple times, you know, again, with Linkin Park and that family and Jim. I was able to, during the Linkin Park touring cycles, you know, most of the times I was able to go do Rock 'em Ring, right? For a week, you know, it was usually about a week, you know?
Yeah.
And I will look forward to doing it anytime they ask. But unfortunately, with many of the other artists that I was busy with at the time, I just can't, you know. Super flattering. I'll tell you, one of the most organized festivals I've ever been a part of. I mean, it was always as a spectator, you know, we would show up and God, these guys have their show together, you know, Rock 'em Ring, Rock 'em Park. God, they've got all the details and all that stuff. It's a whole nother level when you're actually on the site to see all of the, just like walk into catering for lunch and there's 350 people, you know, just all around the area, you know, what goes into those festivals and how efficient they are and just the logistics that goes on in the planning is amazing. So to get asked, for an American to get asked to go do a German festival, amazing. As well as I got asked to go do Gorillaz, you know, to get called from a Europe. I'm sure you guys, same thing with Iron Maiden, European production, British production, calling me to go do Gorillaz, and I was the only Seppo on the tour, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, flattering stuff. You know, it really is. It's flattering, and you go out and just do what you do. You do the best you can, and again, I just try to keep my mouth shut still to this day as much as I can. And try to learn, point out problems where they are, keep my eyes open. That is one thing. Observe and try to put yourself in other people's positions. You know,
I know that's one thing I really miss. You know, speaking about the Rock 'em Ring, Rock 'em Park, I really miss the local promoter. You know, the individual local promoter. And the Lieberbergs kept that going for so long, even when, you know, the local promoter has been gone for years. And that, you know, this webinar is about relationships. You talk about a relationship with the promoter. You know, how great was that the whole time? I mean, just think of that special relationship.
Well, absolutely. You know,
and all the reps too, you know, like Matt Schwartz.
And, Matt Schwartz and Noom and Basti. You know, those guys are great, you know, I mean, they're top of their game, you know, I mean, it's just, when you work with people who are good at what they do, it just makes my job so much easier to do. You know, I mean, it's like, it's the production managers and just, you know, I think they take so much of their time to make sure that everybody else's job is easy once they get on the road, right? As soon as they leave home, production manager wants to give them all of their tools, you know, give them all of their mental stability and give them everything they need to be as efficient and have as easy as a time once they leave their home until they get their back, right? I look at kind of that same MO on a daily basis. You know, I want everybody from the merch guy to the head rigger, you know, from VIP to, if I can make their job easier, that is part of my job. I look at it that way, you know, not by going out and carrying merch boxes, but if I can take 4 hands and unload the merch boxes over there, you know, while he's not in the building yet, and get their day started and make it easier, put it on the cart for him and stuff like that. That's basic, easy stuff that I'm going to do anyway. You know,
it's big picture stuff, right? You know, each of us in our little in our little microbe of, you know, the audio department, the lighting department, the video department, the merch guys, the whatever, we all like stay with our own.
For sure.
And whoever the crew chief is like, you know, trying to keep a picture of what's going on. But your job really is to look at all that shit and coordinate that. What's some advice you could give to a kid that's just learning how to do that?
Understand what they're doing, or try to put yourself in some of their shoes, you know, and lead by example. You know, if somebody's having a really shit gig, or they just finished loading in and the artist has changed their mind, and you got to take it all apart, you know, or something like that. Or we've loaded a whole truck and we need something out of the front of it. Right there in the front of the chart
on the regular. Anyway.
By example, you know, as well as you can give whatever labor is available, you know, to help that shitty project along, you know.
Here's my passport. Shit.
Yeah, dude, that hammer story. Yeah, Angel. Yeah. But what has helped me a lot is putting myself in somebody else's shoes, right? And not asking them to do something that I wouldn't do myself, you know. Yeah. But, you know, some days, some tours are lighting heavy, and lighting guys are going to be climbing all day, you know, and they have a really tough day, and they're going to be working up till doors every day. So, you know, maybe give them a little bit extra hands in the afternoon, put yourself in their shoes, you know, don't walk up and try to take the piss out of them if they're having a shit day, you know, go, you know, try to empathize for every department is what is really what it is for me. You know, I know it's not easy for a merch person or a VIP person to come up to me or any stage manager in the middle of load-in when they get there and they just want questions to do their job. And I've barked at anybody a few times, we all have, but to try to put myself in their shoes, like, you know, like I was just saying, they're just there to do their job, you know, and if I have an answer for them before they even get there, hey, you guys, all your stuff's right there. I've got 2 guys for you to move it for you when you get here. You know, if you need anything, let me know. And then it's kind of self-explanatory for them. Okay, cool. Go get some breakfast. When you get back, I got you. You know, it's just
a quick rundown of the day.
Quick rundown of the day.
You know, like start to finish. We all know it's a long day. I don't have to give every detail. Let's just say big jobs all day long.
Starting to mark out points at 8 a.m., let's just say, for a 9 a.m. tip. Walking in the building an hour before mark out, you know, meeting the local promoter rep and the building guy. Doing a walk around the building for logistic reasons, finding out where your storage is. Number 1, know about your storage. And when there's not enough of it, asking that building person where you're supposed to put the rest of your gear. Because a lot of these venues these days don't have enough storage in their storage room, or they have all their house stuff in it. They've got to have a backup plan, or at least help you with somewhere to put your gear, you know? So storage is huge. So do a walk around the venue and stuff like that. You know, 15 minutes before you start marking out, go find the crew chief, you know, check with your head rigger to make sure he's all good. He's met his head rigger, you know, and everything's moving good on the floor. Walk into catering, grab a few pieces of bacon, walk back out and go find your crew chief, you know, find your crew chief, start giving a breakdown for the day. Talk about breaks, talk about cuts, talk about if you have an idea of how many people you're going to be feeding. Come around lunchtime, you know, and then
because you're ultimately, sorry to interrupt you, but you're ultimately being held responsible for how much money the artist is spending in crew costs, right?
100%.
So, you know, I mean, it is ultimately the production manager's job to keep a handle on that, but you're the real like go-to guy that's communicating with that crew chief. And so I know that's something that's super important as a stage manager, is keeping track of that, because the difference of you making a mistake in that way could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in
for sure
Madison Square Garden, for instance.
For sure.
So how did you learn about that? That's got to be something.
Well, one of those, you know, you learn, and for me, it was the hard way a couple times, is when you meet the promoter rep or your crew boss, you're asking, what's the minimum? Are you on a 4-hour minimum, 6-hour minimum, 8-hour minimum, no hour minimum, right? Because then you know how long you have everybody for, no matter what, right? If you have 100 people for 4 hours, great, that's their first cut. If they're on a Chicago 8-hour minimum, cool. Then I'm worrying about how I'm going to feed them all, because most likely I'm going to keep keeping everybody 8 hours, or at least until I've got a lot of people sitting around. Right.
Speaking of feeding them, does an accountant ever come to you and say, "Why are we feeding these people?" A certain accountant, whatever, would he ever get in the catering and say, "Why are we feeding these people?" When they
we do, because we're both talking about the same guy.
The worm.
It is. But again, it's being as efficient as I can and communicating beforehand. Like at the 3.5 hour point, if I, for some reason, or at the 3 hour point, I'll tell the crew boss, hey, come meet me, or I need to talk to you. If we started at 9, I need to talk to you at 12, because at 12:30, I want to start feeding people from 12:30 to 1. So at 1 o'clock, I can cut whoever I'm not going to feed on that 4 hour minimum point, right? So that you've always got people working. What you don't want to do, though, is shoot yourself in the foot. Oh, I cut all my hands. I saved a lot of money. Yeah, but you still have 2 trucks to unload. All your gear's still on the floor. Well,
your crew will hate you so bad. They'll be like, I'm going to kill you.
And you're pissed off at yourself because you're in there lifting everything, because you cut everybody. And, great. That account statement looks good for the day. But boy, you barely made doors and everyone's pissed. And, you're trying to call people back in if you're pushing it that much, But in terms of the management of it, knowing your minimums helps a lot, right? And communicating with the crew boss of how many people you need to keep comes in play. Like the department heads, are they working heads? Or are they not working heads? The assistants, are they working or are they not? And it's the fine line of not spending extra money that you don't need to on hands that are just going to be sitting around, but you don't want to make the crew, like I said, you don't want to make your crew work harder than they have to, because you have that minimum, right? And then afterwards, let's just say, if it was an 8 hour minimum, at around 7 hours, if it's still a lot of work going on, I'll start asking the crew bosses, hey, you guys, an hour from now, how many stagehands do you think you're still going to need? Just communication, not trying to mind read, oh, hey, I don't want to guess unless it's like down the tour and, it takes 4 guys to do this after this time, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to tell a lighting crew chief that he only needs 4 guys left when he's telling me he needs 8, I know, but I may ask a question. Hey, can you get along with 6? What if I come over and help you guys? Are you cool with that? So there's communication. I can't say it enough. It helps so much from the beginning of the tour to asking, questions and having that relationship with the production manager. Because I feel that the relationship with the production manager, from when I get hired from that production manager until the gear is returned after the tour, we have a working relationship. He needs me, I need him. I can help him, he can help me, and we feed off each other.
What are your I feel like and you are this guy, but I feel like the best stage managers are the ones that can adjust, right? So guys that communicate with their crew chiefs, right? Yeah. And are able to put their ego aside and be like, you know what? That lighting crew chief guy was right. We're screwing that up. Let's do it this way. And where I've seen production managers and stage managers fail is when it's my way or the highway, man. This is the way that it is. And if you don't like it, too bad. And that's a horrible way to work. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you manage that? Like, it's gotta be a dance.
For me, it was, putting myself in people's shoes. And also it helped a lot being a low man on the totem pole and having a little bit of exposure to everything and trying to understand what it takes. Like the dimmer guy, he may sit there all day and not do a lot of movement, but do you know how heavy that cable is that guy deals with for hours?
Dude.
Every single day? And that's why it's like, okay, first thing in the morning, hey, I got my 2 dimmer guys. And if he's got like 17 fucking caddies, hey, dude, if you need a third, I got 60 out there standing around. I know you only asked for 2, but let me know, right?
Yeah.
But when
sound guys bitch about feeder, but lighting guy, like dimmer guy, he's got us beat, man.
And again, it's keeping your crew comfortable. like a shit gig. Like how do I get people to do something that sucks? Or if I did something wrong, all right, I'm going to walk up and I'm going to say, I fucked up. I so fucked up. You were right. Totally wrong. I will fix this in any way that I can to help to do this. I fucked up. I am sorry. And that's really, it's kind of all that I can do, because the mistake's still got to get fixed. The show's still got to happen. And, I will try to apologize down the road again. Hey, I fucked that up, you guys. I really appreciate you going through the extra hoops. But I try to not make that mistake, because
that's disrespect. Like people,
I don't want anyone doing work twice. No one wants to do things twice. So, that's why if you can be ahead of a problem before it gets there, like even if you start the process and you see, like if I start the process on my way and I see it's going down the wrong path, you guys stop, bad call. I fucked this up. Please. He was right. Go with him. I'm a dumbass. And a little humility goes a long way, telling a bunch of people what they're already saying about you in their own head. Dumbass. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that.
I made the wrong call. But I also think that somebody for me that went a long way was somebody who's telling you to do something that's not afraid to get their hands dirty. I had a lot of respect for people as a local when I would come or they would come up and go, hey guys, we need to go do this. Hey, can I get a couple guys to come over here and help me with this? Not the guy that would walk up with a cup of coffee in his hand and go, hey guys, I need all of you to lift that. And then he would just sit there and watch you lift it and drink his coffee. And then when it's done, he's like, good job, guys. No, I've learned that I get a lot more help out of people and respect by, hey, can you help me with this work? I tell a lot of people, work with me, not for me. And
fortunately, you see that a lot. You see crew people walking around with coffees doing that, and it's just.
And
that's not a way to work,
No, but that's their individual. Now, if I see them doing that in front of a crew that's struggling, I'll bust their balls, in a joking way, and I'll walk up and say, hey, buddy, it's nicer with 10 people out there, and instead of 9, the coffee's really good for when you're done. But I've been lucky enough to have pretty good crews, the biggest issue, working with one hand doesn't work for a local or for a touring guy. I get it. If you're coming out of catering with a coffee in your hand or whatever, and you're waiting for your gear, sure. But like if you're pulling feeder or you're pushing a cage
with one hand,
you got your coffee balanced on the caddy and stuff like that. Like, come on, dude, we're here to work. And, you're pushing something on wheels, set your coffee down. Come on, let's go to work, but for me, it was a lot of respect and wanting to do things for people who would do it themselves. The ones
let's switch gears here real quick before the main show ends here, because it's already close, and I want to get into I want to get into I Helped the Roadie a bit, so you can get that in on the main show here. Very, very important. Very important. Yes. And we got Bob Wilcox already wanting a wrong end of the snake face mask, and we know that you're selling gators, right? The
neck gators, yes,
shirts. So let's get some promo going for this while we're still on the main show here.
So it was basically, music industry is in a really bad place right now. More importantly, the crews for the music industry, roadies, stagehands, the musicians, the agents, the managements. I think most of them will have deep enough pockets to still be weathering the storm or some kind of income or, whatever. Stagehands and roadies are kind of like forgotten, unless you're friends with one, or like you have a direct relationship with one. A lot of people just concerts, carnies, whatever. And so I wanted to bring some awareness, to the stagehands and to the roadies, and just this huge profession out there that is a lot of people have been fucked over and screwed through this, but ours is one of the worst, I've been doing this a career for 30 years, right? So I wanted to bring some awareness, and attention to our group of people, stagehands, roadies, right? So, and I wanted to help them along the way. So I just had a stupid idea of why not get a t-shirt? Why not make a t-shirt? It says, I helped a roadie, right? And literally it was just and then I thought about, a lighting guy and a rigger and all that stuff. And then I reached out to Brad Stoner, because another roadie friend of ours who worked on Linkin Park owns a merch company. And so I figured, well, why not? a roadie help a roadie. So let me reach out to Brad Stoner, right?
Awesome.
And so he came up with the road case and the coffin key and all that back. And so we said, let's start getting rid of some shirts and making donations along the way to people that need it. Tried to, unfortunately, with a lot of the stuff that we're doing, the target people are ones that are unemployed. A lot of my friends on Facebook, a lot of our friends, we're reaching out to people who don't have a job and they don't have the money. So I'm like, well, asking people to buy shirts sucks, so I got to at least keep it as low as we can, so shipping included, donation included, $25, you can get a shirt. And then my grandiose idea is, if I see somebody wearing a shirt like this at a concert down the road, I'm going to walk up to that person no matter how far away, and I'm going to thank them personally for supporting us in our time of need. Maybe even give them a guitar pick, or something like that. But that was my ideal dream. But, getting the word out there is tough when you're talking to a lot of people. Our circle, our umbrella is just, it's a lot of people who are hurting.
And
Yeah,
so
I mean,
can
that's
roadieshelpingroadies.com, check it out.
there you go. Can I ask why you chose Music Cares? I know we had a relationship with him with Linkin Park. We did a lot of stuff for Music Cares over the years. Is that why you chose them, or is there something else?
Well, no, at the time when I started it, I believe Zito had already worked with Music Cares, Nashville cinnamon rolls, and he's doing amazing with what he's doing. And there was a couple other things that I had seen on the internet of people doing things for Music Cares. So it was the most comfortable and known, right? But I will say we just had our second donation 2 days ago, right? So we're still plodding along, but we're contemplating on doing a different donation that gets more direct impact to people, more of a direct help rather than, nothing wrong with Music Cares. It's just a huge entity. You click on the link and it takes you to the Grammys.com. It's a huge commercialized website, but they do a lot of great for people. So I don't want to take anything away from them. I just, that's how we got to Music Cares. It was comfortable, it was established, and we knew that money would go to somebody, that needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if there's anybody watching this, the problem is that we are this tight-knit family that all know each other, that are all not working. And outside of that, we don't have the lobby, right, for that. And so if anybody has some ideas that's watching this about how to get at the general public, I think there is there's kind of a thought that we are being taken care of by the millionaires. You know what I mean? Like they look at Lady Gaga and go, well, she's paying her people, right?
Magic. It's magic.
And that's not what's happening, people. No. There are very few bands that are kind of holding on to people and trying
There are a few that have really done the right thing, as well as I got to say the Disturbed Boys, I want to give them props. They got shirts, they threw their shirts on and they did a little promo, and, I can't thank artists if they're not just to help. A little help goes a long way. Don't need to give anything, but just throw a shirt on or at least make a comment, when you're doing your speeches, at your award ceremonies, just make a comment about the struggling crew. It doesn't need to be about these shirts, it could be just about our industry, the struggling side of our industry,
Yeah, I'm trying to share as much as I can on social media to get at people that are not in this industry. So Facebook, all you guys that are in this industry, keep posting on your Facebook page to grab the people outside of this industry and let them know in a nice way, like, hey, we will absolutely be the last people to go back to work.
No doubt.
And so, we have a bunch of roadies that are hurting. So thank you, Elo, for coming. Our hour is up.
I didn't butcher up your show too much, but thank you guys. Really.
No, man, it's amazing. Your story is amazing. And don't forget, guys, there's a question and answer period that we're going to go to here in a minute that we'll post either tomorrow or the next day, which will be another 30 minutes. Hey, Elo, if guys are willing to help you with what you have going on, how do they get a hold of you?
Give it all slow.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I'm on Facebook, and the good part about my last name, if it's on there, is it's spelled the only way in the world, MERFY. Literally, I'm the only Ethan Murphy in the world that I know of. Google it, anything you find, but you can email me at Ethan Murphy, ETHANMERFY at yahoo.com. Or you can reach out to me on Facebook. Send me a friend request.
Cool. So there you go, guys. If you have any ability to help, then get a hold of Ethan.
And give the roadie the I Helped a Roadie website one more time.
Yeah. Roadieshelpingroadies.com. All right. It's just what we're trying to do. And, I've seen a lot of people in our industry trying to pivot, and there's been some people like Clay Hudson and Zito that have done really well with themselves. And I think it's great. But there's a lot of people, much more people that are really hurting right now, and they need some support. Roadieshelpingroadies.com.
Yeah. Clay's making me feel very inadequate, though.
Me too, buddy. That guy's like building houses, and he's probably built a new Target over the weekend.
I changed a light bulb today, and he's dug a tunnel and built a structure. Yeah,
I tell you, for sure.
Good for him.
I know.
Thank you, Ethan, and we'll see you in a minute. We'll go to the question and answer.
Guys, thanks for having me. Really, I appreciate it.
Sorry, say that again.
Thanks for having me. Really, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Next Tuesday is election day here in the United States. We will take a pause from Wrong End of the Snake for the first time in this COVID pandemic, so that
the election.
Yeah. So that everyone shifts their focus to what is important. Go vote. There will be no live stream of Wrong End of the Snake on November 3rd. No live stream on November 3rd for the first time during this pandemic since we started. We'll be announcing our next guests in November soon. Look for that in all of our social media. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our videos. We just passed 1,000 subscribers to our channel, and we are very grateful that you have helped us to reach that milestone. If you love us, keep telling all your friends. Subscribe and smash like on all of our videos, please. We think there is great knowledge that our guests share with us on a weekly basis that many in the live event industry could use when we get back to work. Tell your friends, because right now we are only reaching 1,000 of those 12 million. Seems a shame, doesn't it? Also, we are trying to get our elected officials to listen to us about Restart and include it in the debated current stimulus package. Right now, we are collateral damage. In other words, our pleas for help are being unheard. We need funding to help the 12 million people in the live event industry. Many of us are independent contractors, or we own small businesses that have not had income since March. Please go to extendpua.org, wemakeevents.org, NAMM.org, and for help with mental health and well-being, go to theroadieclinic.com. For more information on how you can help, contact your representatives in the House and Senate to remind them about our forgotten industry and ask them to include Restart Act in the stimulus package. Without skilled workers like Tater, myself, and Ethan, vendors and manufacturers, there will be nobody left to put on the shows when we are allowed to gather again. Thank you for the support. If you are here and you're not a member of our industry but love live events, please do what you can to help lobby our cause. We will be the last to go to work. Thank you, guys. Great episode. Thank you, Ethan. And we won't see you next week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. All right? Go vote. Wear a mask. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote.